This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. A state of emergency in California as hurricane and gale force winds spread wildfires in parts of the state. Firefighters are battling to get the upper hand on the flames, including a new fire that started today. Charlene Aaron has been following the story and joins us now with more. Charlene.
Wendy, even as firefighters are attempting to put out destructive wildfires in the northern part of California, a new fire broke out in Los Angeles overnight. The blaze on the west side of LA erupted before dawn today and roared up slopes into wealthy neighborhoods, threatening thousands of homes. Tens of thousands of people were ordered to clear out. Among the areas evacuated was the Brentwood neighborhood where NBA superstar LeBron James lives. James tweeted that he and his family were forced to leave. In Sonoma County, a fire that broke out last week has burned tens of thousands of acres and has forced nearly 200,000 people to evacuate. Strong winds fueling the blaze, with some gusts up to 100 miles an hour. And students at St. Mary's College were evacuated after flames threatened the school, and the mayor of Los Angeles warning residents to heed evacuation orders.
It was just a very scary experience because the fires were literally so close to our campus. Even inside the dorms, it was very smoky and it was hard to breathe.
Leave your home. We've seen fires and tragedies where people have believed they could stay in place, where they thought they could fight the fire, be a hero themselves, take out their garden hose. Do not do that. The only thing you cannot replace is you and your family.
Meanwhile, California's biggest utility company cut power to some 2.5 million people in an effort to prevent wind-blown electrical equipment from sparking more fires. And so far, forced outages have left more than 2 million Californians without power. Wendy?
Wow. Thank you, Charlene. Well, joining us now is Carl Ladd, the Deputy Director for the Bethel Global Response Team. And in Bethel Church in Redding, dealt with a massive wildfire of its own just last year. Carl, tell us about how Bethel is stepping in to help those who are impacted by these fires.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks for having me. So we have a team down on the ground in Sonoma County right now. We're partnering with Salvation Army and Red Cross. The focus right now is housing and feeding the displaced. As you guys just mentioned, over 200,000 displaced, and really kind of looking at likely for the next week, those people needing shelter and food. So that's really our focus at this time.
Carl, how did your church experience, what did your church experience last year, and tell us how it is today?
Yeah, our church, we went through the tragic event of the car fire, where our community of 90,000 people, about 35,000 people were displaced, and just over 1,000 homes lost during that event. And so our church, I've run Bethel Global Response for several years now, where we go and we serve local churches and help them meet the needs of their community. But that was really the first time where we were serving our own community and in our own backyard. And it's hard. It's not an easy task, but it's such a privilege to be able to be with people and to be able to share the love of Jesus with them in their moment of greatest need.
Absolutely. And Carl, of course, California gets these wildfires every year, but have you ever seen this many?
The frequency and the intensity of them, we haven't seen, it just seems like every year we have the worst event, and then the next year it gets topped. And so it's just, it's just, you get hit and you think we'll have a low year, we'll have a quiet year, and then another one pops up. And yeah, right now with these wind events, it's just insane. For all of California, from northern to southern California, the winds have just been crazy. So that's a big prayer point right now is for the church to pray that these winds die down so that we can get a handle on these fires.
Okay, that's what I was just about to ask you. How can we pray? So we will be praying for that and for everyone's safety there in California. Carl, thanks so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
In other news, the president and many Republicans charge the House impeachment inquiry is improper. They believe the full House should vote to approve the inquiry, and the hearings should be held in public, not behind closed doors. Friday, Senator Lindsey Graham introduced a resolution condemning the inquiry, which all but 3 Senate Republicans are co-sponsoring.
The purpose of the resolution is to let the House know that the process you're engaging in regarding the attempted impeachment of President Trump is out of bounds. It's inconsistent with due process as we know it. It's a Star Chamber type inquiry, and it's a substantial deviation from what the House has done in the past regarding impeachment of other presidents.
Now, it takes 67 votes in the Senate to remove a president from office. Democrats hold 45 Senate seats, plus 2 independents who vote with them. That means they need 20 Republicans to join them in voting to convict. With at least 50 Senate Republicans supporting Senator Graham right now, the numbers simply do not add up for the Democrats. Well, a rising Democratic star in Congress has stepped down. Freshman Katie Hill of California announced her resignation Sunday amid an ethics probe. Hill is accused of an inappropriate relationship with a campaign staffer, which is forbidden under House rules. Hill, one of the few openly bisexual women in Congress, has denied the charge and promised to fight a, quote, smear campaign by a husband that she calls abusive. Trump senior advisor Jared Kushner is in Israel. Kushner met with Israel's Blue and White Party leader Benny Gantz today, as well as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Gantz has been given 28 days to form a coalition among political parties in Israel after Netanyahu failed to do so. Today's talk centered around the Trump administration's Mideast peace plan. Kushner is the chief architect of that proposal, but has not said when the plan will be unveiled. And we'll have more on these stories this evening on Faith Nation, and you can watch it right here on the CBN News Channel. Well, over the weekend, U.S. Special Forces killed ISIS leader Abu Bakr Al Baghdadi. It marked the end of one of the biggest manhunts in history. The raid was named after Kayla Mueller, a young Christian woman who was kidnapped and murdered by ISIS. U.S. officials say Baghdadi tortured and repeatedly raped the 26-year-old Mueller, who refused to renounce her Christian faith. But now, after Baghdadi's death, the question is, what's next for ISIS? Chris Mitchell has the story from Jerusalem.
President Trump said the operation led by Delta Force was flawless.
U.S. Special Operations Forces executed a dangerous and daring nighttime raid in northwestern Syria and accomplished their mission in grand style.
He said Baghdadi died like a dog.
The thug who tried so hard to intimidate others spent his last moments in utter fear, in total panic and dread, terrified of the American forces bearing down on him.
The Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF, the main allies of the U.S. since 2015 in the battle against ISIS, said they provided effective intelligence in tracking down Baghdadi, while one U.S. official said Turkey did not help in any way. In July 2014, al-Baghdadi announced an Islamic caliphate and declared himself the caliph, the leader of the Muslim world. His caliphate swept across Syria and Iraq, changed the face of the Middle East, and left behind a legacy of some of the most horrific murders ever seen, many of them broadcast to the world via social media. At one time, his caliphate reached the size of Great Britain and kept millions under the heel of its barbaric Sharia law. His infamous legacy scarred the lives of millions who either fled, were killed, or who came under the sway of his hate-filled messages.
Well, unfortunately, I think, there's a whole area across Iraq and Syria that has had its kind of heart ripped out. And I don't think that the Middle East will be able to fully get that back.
Baghdadi's followers, many of them drawn from Western countries, especially targeted Christians and slaughtered religious minorities like Yazidis and Muslims who didn't follow his brand of Islam. His followers murdered 20 Egyptian Christians on a Libyan beach, Western journalists like James Foley, and thousands more. CBN News documented some of his trail of destruction, from the devastated city of Mosul to Yazidi mass graves and the ruins of their main city, Sinjar, and met some of the millions who became refugees. Many still remain in those camps. While his physical caliphate ended earlier this year in the eastern corner of Syria, the question remains, what's next for the Islamic terrorist group?
There will be a new form of ISIS or Al-Qaeda that will come along, because I think there is a kind of unresolved question in terms of Sunni jihadist extremist movements throughout the world, whether it's in Nigeria or all the way to the Philippines, where, there is unfortunately this extremism that appeals to people.
The question also remains, what happens to the victims of Baghdadi?
Okay, Baghdadi's dead, but we should be helping the victims, the refugees, the people that still have post-traumatic stress from what they suffered over these years, the rape victims. I mean, all those people are still among us. So we should devote our tools to helping the living and not just care about the dead.
And that was Chris Mitchell reporting. And following weeks of conflict between Turkey and Syria, the Syrian Democratic Forces are moving away from the border. Russian television showed the SDF withdrawing its vehicles from the Turkish-Syrian border. The convoy was overseen by Russian military police. An SDF spokesman urged the Russian government to live up to its part of the deal by sponsoring talks between the Kurds and the Syrian government. Brexit is delayed again. The European Union agreed today to wait until January 31st of next year. This comes just 3 days before the October 31st deadline, when Britain would have become the first country ever to leave the 28-nation bloc. Prime Minister Boris Johnson is now pushing for the December 12th general election to vote on the Brexit plan.
The government has always said it's prepared to go for no deal because it gives them a more powerful negotiating position. The truth is that, of course, if there were no deal, it isn't the end of Brexit. Nothing's the end of Brexit, really, because whether or not Boris Johnson gets his deal through or there's a no-deal Brexit, it's the beginning, not the end of the process of the UK renegotiating its relationship not only with the EU, but with the United States and a whole range of other countries, because they'd have to set new trade deals with all of them, certainly if the UK is currently within the EU system for having a trade relationship with a particular country or bloc.
A major development in the case of Christian pastor John Cao. Cao is a U.S. resident held captive in a Chinese prison. The American Center for Law and Justice says a UN group is calling for Cao's immediate release. The husband and father is currently serving a 7-year sentence for his faith. The ACLJ says his imprisonment is part of China's ongoing crackdown against Christian pastors and churches. The organization has a petition drive to free Pastor Cao. It currently has more than 200,000 signatures. Coming up, is witchcraft real? What one author has to say about witchcraft in modern-day times and how it's still posing a threat. Before we go to the break, though, here's a look at what's trending on CBNNews.com.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Thousands of witches gathered last week to cast a spell on President Trump, which they say was to prevent him from harming the country. Well, with Halloween coming up this week, should we take witches seriously? Author and radio host Dr. Michael Brown says that we should. He says the rapid rise of witchcraft in America is real and frightening. His new book is called Jezebel's War with America, and he joins us now to talk about it. Hi, Dr. Brown. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks so much.
Well, the title of your book is a reference to Queen Jezebel from the Bible. And for those who are not familiar with her, who was Jezebel?
She was a pagan princess. She married an ungodly king in Israel named Ahab. And the Bible tells us she incited him to do more evil. She was a staunch idol worshiper. In the Bible, she's associated with sexual immorality and with witchcraft. She was a murderer. She killed the prophets. She intimidated by fear. She emasculated her husband. And I see the same demonic powers that operated through this wicked queen Jezebel 3,000 years ago. And then Jesus in the New Testament, speaking to the church, references a woman that he calls Jezebel, false prophetess, also associated with sexual immorality and idolatry. I see the same demonic powers that operated of old operating again today. And to me, there's a clear line between the radical extreme feminism, between the Shout Your Abortion movement, between the seduction of America through internet porn, the rise of witchcraft, the fascination with sorcery. It's all of the same spirit, the same demonic forces operating. And last week, New York Times had an article asking, when did everyone become a witch? And it said, we have reached peak witch. So this is real. We don't focus on Satan, we focus on the Lord, but the Bible tells us we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. And as I was doing research for Jezebel's War with America, I was stunned to learn that among millennials, there are more witches than Presbyterians. We cannot ignore what's happening spiritually.
That is crazy. Well, you found out, as you mentioned in your research, that witchcraft is on the rise while Christianity is on the decline. Those are sad statistics.
Yeah, even if you look at the fascination with sorcery, the most read books in America today, 6 or 7 out of the most 10 read books in America today are Harry Potter books. There's a massive increase in tarot cards that people are talking about. And with witches, they've been gathering regularly to hex the patriarchy or to bind President Trump. And yes, some of it may just be talk, some of it may be benign, but you are talking about people gathering together, appealing to other spiritual powers, and they are militantly against the Bible. They are militantly against Christian values. This is something that's really happening. And what you often see, we have the rise of what we call the nuns, the religious nuns, N-O-N-E-S, people with no religious affiliation. As people turn more and more away from God, it's not, as Chesterton said, that they believe nothing, but they believe everything. They begin to engage in all types of alternative spiritual realities and things that they're seeking after. So the window is wide open now for deception to come flooding in. You even have people professing to be Christian witches. The spiritual warfare is real. We need to be equipped. We need to take on the spirit of Jezebel. It's a real thing.
Dr. Brown, how can we as Christians equip ourselves? How can we take on and combat this evil?
So first, we get educated. We understand what's out there. That's why I wrote Jezebel's War with America. Let's understand. And then let's realize we have greater spiritual weapons. Let's clean house in our own lives. Have we opened the door in our own lives to the seduction of Jezebel, to these alternative spiritual truths and deceptions and things like that? And then we give ourselves to prayer. It is the ultimate spiritual weapon. We use the word of God. We turn to God to turn the heart of the nation. Politics is important, but the only solution for the nation is found in the cross, is found in prayer and fasting, repentance in the church, living this out. We can take Jezebel down.
All right. Dr. Michael Brown, author of Jezebel's War with America. And there's so much more that we could talk about. Well, we'll save that for next time. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Well, up next, how one Christian group working to combat America's homeless epidemic. I'll tell you what they're doing.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to cbnnewschannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
The Trump administration is looking to address the homeless epidemic in America's biggest cities, and Washington is no exception. In the meantime, close to 6,000 men, women, and children in the nation's capital need a meal and a place to sleep every night. Amber Strong shows us one Christian group working to answer that need.
Beneath the shadows of D.C.'s treasured monuments, passers-by see a striking contrast, a world of homelessness. On any given night here in D.C., about 6,000 people are in need of a place to sleep. That puts about 600 on the street and thousands more in shelters across the city. At Central Union Mission, 170 find rest, not only for their bodies, but for their souls as well.
The gospel's faithfully presented here every day, not only in the shelter, but at a family ministry center. And the cause of Christ is meeting the needs of the homeless and hurting in this city.
The staff here gives the homeless more than just a meal and a bed. They provide folks with hope and help for transitioning out of their situation.
Cognitive programming for those that have addictions issues. We also have education and workforce development opportunities.
According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, veterans are among those nationwide who experience homelessness at higher rates. The team here says caring for our nation's veterans is in their history.
You know, what's significant is that the mission was founded 135 years ago, and its principal purpose at that time was to serve the homeless veterans after the Civil War.
So one of the things that we have here is a veteran suite where we have it decked out for the veterans and try to afford them a sense of dignity while living in a shelter.
And then there's the food.
Breaking bread with someone, just having a meal with someone breaks down a lot of barriers.
Right? In the kitchen, Union Mission chefs led by Chef Mo work hard to provide healthy meals 3 times a day, because here serving is about more than just food. Executive Chef Rock Harper, winner of Hell's Kitchen on Fox, says each time he helps in this kitchen, it's like winning all over again.
Bigger than the food, we're acknowledging people. We're saying, I see you, I want to be here for you, and if you're aware of that connection, I think it makes you a better chef.
And some of the country's best chefs come together each year for Heart and Soul, a mission-sponsored event raising money for 1 million meals. From the kitchen to the boardroom, the team here says they follow a central goal: do all in the name of the Lord.
You can give people a bed, you can give them a shower, food, clothing, but when you give them the hope of Jesus Christ, that can turn a life around.
As they say in the end, it's the food for the soul that matters most. Amber Strong, CBN News in Washington.
So true. Thanks, Amber. Well, after the break, what exciting news Christian comedian John Crist announced last week, and where you'll soon be able to get lots of laughs.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Christian comedian John Crist last week announced that he has a brand new Netflix special in the works. The 35-year-old comedian special is called I Ain't Praying for That and will premiere on the streaming service that drops on Thanksgiving Day. The special was filmed while he was on his Human Being tour at the Lyric Theater in Birmingham. Chris said in the announcement his special targets millennial culture, how to be a good Christian, and modern-day dating, which I know will be hilarious. Chris is also working on his first book, which is slated to debut next spring. And if you've never seen him, he is truly funny. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen today. You can email us at newswatch@cbn.com or reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We hope you'll join us next time. Until then, from all of us here at CBN Newswatch, have a great day and God bless.